So smartphones are getting really, really good. That entire sequence was actually shot on my Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, which is obviously pretty mind-blowing. Definitely stick around towards the end of the video if you're interested in seeing a before and after for how it looked kind of raw out of the camera, and then how it was kind of actually after I color graded and edited it. I'll also have marked on there which footage was the 8K shots and which footage were just kind of regular 4K. So because phones like this are getting better and better, I thought I would break down 5 tips, 5 ways to kind of maximize the footage you're getting out of smartphones and really take your cinematic sequences shot on phones to the next level. First thing is the camera settings. This is obviously the kind of cornerstone of any video content. You need to set the camera settings that you're going to shoot for your particular sequence. Now, you definitely can shoot on a third-party application. Apps like Filmic Pro are really popular because they allow kind of full manual control over the camera. But for me personally, the advantage of a smartphone is its ease of use. So most of the time, I just sit kind of standard in the native camera app. While saying that, you don't want your phone to do everything automatically. So shooting on a phone like the S23 Ultra, there's actually a pro video mode. So I was shooting inside this pro video mode all of the time whilst shooting that sequence. My kind of logic is that it's actually reducing the processing that's happening a little bit on that kind of final file. I do find the pro mode a little bit softer and a little bit more data to play around with in the files out of that mode. There's going to be different settings per different phones here. You might need to do a little bit of kind of Googling to find what is best for your particular model. For instance, on an iPhone, you're going to want to go into the settings inside the actual settings app, go into the camera and select the kind of highest data rate modes for your iPhone. So some of the shots shot on the S23 Ultra were shot in 8K. There is an 8K 30 frames a second video mode on the S23 Ultra.
Yo guys, quick one from me. I actually just realized whilst I was editing this video that some of you guys might want to see the video in full 8K resolution. Obviously some of the shots were at 4K, some are in 8K, but I will upload the actual kind of just video on its own so that you can see the 8K footage in full 8K if you are interested in that. The link will be down below.
My general rule of thumb was that anything wide I was shooting in that 8K mode, and then if I particularly knew I wanted to slow anything down or if I wanted to zoom, I was shooting in 4K 60. A little hack for 30 frames a second if you're working in a slightly lower frames a second timeline. So I was shooting in 30 working in a 25 frames a second timeline, which meant I could slow that footage down to roughly 82-83%, and that just kind of softens up the image a little bit in terms of just making a little bit smoother. It's a little bit slower than kind of normal natural life, and that goes towards making it feel a bit more cinematic. For 4K 60, I was actually slowing it down to 41-42% speed, and this really does slow it down quite a lot, and you're going to be able to notice an actual slow motion effect. You'll see another video talking about shooting slightly more cinematic videos on a smartphone, the importance of using an ND filter. Sometimes you see a little like clip-on ND that someone will clip over the top of your smartphone lenses. For me, again, this kind of steps on the ability of a phone is its ease of use. If I need an ND filter, I'll probably just bring one of my larger cameras. So that's why for this sequence I just shot using the phone without any additional filters. Now, I really don't want you to go away from this video thinking that you have to go out and buy a smartphone gimbal. I actually ended up only using my smartphone gimbal for one shot in this entire video, and it was the opening sequence. You can see kind of how smooth this motion is. I think I would have really struggled actually shooting this in a handheld mode, especially as the fact that I was actually walking on stones. Gimbals are amazing tools, and they are really fantastic for creating smartphone videos, but you don't need them for every single shot. For me anyway, I found this only really useful when I was working on a large move like this opening shot. Everything else was relatively static, for which the handheld mode, kind of standard handheld on a camera like the S23 Ultra with its fantastic stabilization, is more than good enough. The gimbal I've been using is the DJI Osmo Mobile 6, which I actually shot a video on a couple of weeks ago. It handled the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra like a champ, which is pretty impressive because this is not a light phone at all. Music is one of the most important parts of any video when you're creating and you're trying to achieve a slightly more cinematic feeling. The music that I use and chose for this video definitely helped me create a kind of a feeling of calmness and serenity that you're getting from the beach, that with the background of the kind of ocean wave sound effect. The platform I use for both my client work and also my YouTube videos is Audio. I've been using Audio for a couple of years now, so I was super buzzed when they reached out and asked to sponsor a video here on the channel. I genuinely think that Audio have one of the best selections of royalty royalty-free music for creators. Royalty-free music can sometimes just always come off sounding a little bit synthetic with lots of digital sounding instruments, but Audio has one of the best selections online for actual independent music creators producing fantastic tracks that you can use for your videos. Another thing I love about Audio is they actually have an option to buy a lifetime membership, which means you never have to worry about purchasing royalty-free music ever again. But alternatively, right now you can actually access 70% off an Audio Pro annual license with my code TOMRICH, which is a pretty insane deal. You can check that out using the link down below. Thank you again to Audio for supporting the channel. I've got to hold my hands up. I actually thought that some of the lenses on the S23 Ultra would not hold up to filming high quality video. So there's a number of shots in this video that I ended up zooming quite substantially. I was shooting in the 3x telephoto mode a lot of the time, and a few shots even snuck in there at the 10x mode, the super telephoto shot on the S23 Ultra. And I was really impressed. Having access to all of these lens options means that you can basically get the feeling almost like you've got a full lens set in your camera backpack with you. If every single shot during this video was shot on the kind of main standard wide, it definitely is going to end up feeling like a smartphone video, because everyone's just quite used to that kind of 24 to 26 millimeter focal range being a standard for a smartphone shot now. Nobody really expects to be able to achieve a shot like this on a smartphone, just because people aren't really actually used to seeing that type of image come out from a phone. And like I said, with the right lighting conditions, I was really impressed with the quality of that footage, even at, 230 millimeters. So obviously my sequence was shot at sunset and Brighton Beach. It's quite a beautiful setting. The lighting was absolutely gorgeous. So you kind of have that benefit of everything looking kind of good straight out of camera. And that for me is the biggest difference between smartphone cameras and more professional cameras. Smartphones can create great looking videos under the right circumstances, while professional cameras can create great looking videos under almost any circumstance. What I mean by this is that you kind of have to ensure that your lighting is good, that you're shooting at like the right type of day, maybe around dusk or around sunset on a smartphone shoot, because the image is just going to look that much better on a kind of a tiny sensor on a smartphone. If you end up shooting at daytime, like noon or something like that, because just due to the sensor size restriction on a smartphone, your image is always going to end up looking a little bit flat and quite cheap, and definitely looking like you shot it on a phone. Those are my tips. Now, if you're interested, here's the before and after for how the video looked shooting straight out of camera until after I edited it.
Never wanted any other life than the one I'm living. Get lost inside the head